this is Stacy from In Stitches. This is a video tutorial for the Owl Love hat where I'll show you how to do the crochet cables for the owls that are on this hat. Alright, so what I get you to do is to get started on your band, and I'll walk you through the rest of the process. Okay, now that you've worked your band to about 20.5 to 20 3/4 inches, we're going to seam it together. And remember, we're using an E hook for the majority of this hat. We'll switch up to a G hook for the top of the hat. So what I do to seam up the band is I'll bring the first row up to the row you just worked from behind, like so. Okay. And then I might have written down you chain one and turn your work. And then now the chain stitches from the very beginning are in front of you. And then what I like to do for the seam is I'll stick my hook through the chain space and then through the back loop of the stitch from the last row. And then I slip stitch that way. So chain space and then back loop of the last stitch. Okay, so repeat that across. That's going to be 9 slip stitches, and we'll get to work on the rest of the hat. Now I've seamed my band together. Okay, and I'm going to turn the band inside out so that the seam is on the inside of the band. Okay, and then I'm going to chain one. Now the next step is to single crochet around your band to get 88 stitches. Now I worked my band to 58 rows, which means I'm going to have to add in some single crochets, obviously, to get to my 88 count. So I'm going to need about 30 stitches around, and all I recommend to do is to do this as evenly as possible. So you don't want to group all your multiple stitches too tightly, because it will make it hard to do your owls. The stitches will be a little too tight, too close. So do your groupings as evenly around the band as possible, and just make sure that you have the stitch count of 88 single crochets around the band. Now that you have completed your 88 single crochets around your band, we're going to do round 2, which is shallow back post double crochets all around. So we're going to chain 2, and if you're not familiar with shallow back post, it's a little bit easier to show with the single crochets because there's really not too much of a post to work with. But what you do here, and we're doing a back post, you're going to insert your hook from back to front. You're just going to work underneath, directly underneath the loops of the single crochets. So you just bring your hook from back to front and then front to back on the next loop, bring it through, and then work your double crochet. Okay, so yarn over, insert hook from back to front, and then front to back on the next loop, underneath the next loop, pull it through, and do your double crochet. Now what you're going to find with these stitches is that it's going to turn the loops from the single crochet over to the front. So what you're going to get is kind of like a line or an edge effect with your stitches, and that's kind of like, I call it like a ledge that your owls are going to be sitting on. So go ahead and work 88 of your shallow back post double crochets all the way around your band. Okay, we're just going to finish up round 2 here, and we're going to slip stitch into the back loop of that first stitch. We do that so as to create a less obvious seam as you're working up your hat. Just makes it a little bit neater. And now we're going to start round 3. So we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do a shallow back post double crochet. So we're going to bring your hook from back to front, right underneath the loop. Okay, and then do the same thing as you did for the previous round. So stick your hook from front to back right underneath the loop, and then bring it around and do your double crochet. Okay, we're going to do that 4 times. So we're not working around the main post of the stitch, we're working right underneath the top loops. Okay, so you worked 4 of those. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches. So 1, 2, so we're working around this post. Now we're working around the post, and we're going to do a front post treble. You're going to wrap your yarn around the hook twice. Okay, skip the 2 stitches and bring it over to the post and work a treble. And to do that, we yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 more loops, and yarn over 1 more time and pull through the last 2 loops. And now you've made your front post treble crochet. We're going to wrap our yarn around twice again and do the same thing in the next stitch, which is what I'm calling the 4th stitch. And do another treble. Okay. Now we're going to wrap our yarn around twice again. And to do this stitch, we're actually working behind the 4th stitch and in front of the 3rd. So essentially we are just splitting those 2 stitches. So we're going to bring our hook from behind to in front, and we're going to grab that post from the first skip stitch, and then I pull that front stitch down so it's out of the way, and then do your front post treble. Okay, the stitches might be a little bit tight here, so just spread them out as best you can on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 more loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, that's the first skip stitch taken care of. Going to yarn over twice, or wrap your yarn around twice again, and do the same thing. So from behind the 4th stitch and in front of the 3rd, grab that second skip stitch, the post of that. Okay, and again pull that front stitch down, and then do your post stitch. Okay, so that's your first set of stitches right there for your first what I call foot of the owl. Okay, now we're going to skip 2 stitches and do another front post treble crochet. Do the same for the 4th stitch there. Okay, so now what we're going to do for this one is we're going to do front post treble, but we're going to work in front of both of these stitches and go over to the first skip stitch. Switch, and then do another front post treble, at this time behind these 2 stitches. So we're just gonna kind of work behind here, grab that second skip stitch, get the front, the other 2 out of the way there. I just hold them down and do your treble there, and that's your second foot completed. And then we're going to do another set of 4 shallow back post double crochets. And what you're going to get are 7 owls around your hat. And each owl will have these 4 stitches in between. And then I'll just show you the stitches one more time, and then I'll let you work around on your own. So I'm going to skip 2 stitches and work your treble, front post treble, around that 3rd. Around the 4th. Okay, and then again, this is where we're splitting the stitch. So behind the 4th, in front of the 3rd, go over around the post of that first skip stitch. If I can grab it here, there we go. Pull that 4th stitch out of the way, work your treble. Okay, do that again around the second skip stitch. Okay, skip 2 stitches. Okay, and this one we're working in front of those 2 stitches over to the first skip stitch. And then we work behind those stitches. And then work a post stitch around the second skip stitch. Okay, so there's the start of 2 owls, and do that all the way around.